Okay, it's all astrology. Today is December 3rd. I'm talking to Capricorn Ascendant, Capricorn Risings. I'm going to discuss the Mercury retrograde for you and the Mars out of bounds, but I'm going to add some clarity as to where this happens exactly for you guys in your chart for this time. All right, let's discuss the Mercury. Mercury retrograde is in Pisces. The retrograde begins at 13 degrees of Pisces. So if you are Capricorn Ascendant, Capricorn Rising, this is in your third house. This is your thinking. This is your talking, your speaking. This is where you communicate. This is how you think. Very Piscean. I can sacrifice. I know how I can sacrifice at times. Very idealistic, but also can be a little delusional because you have Pisces in your third house. Now, this is all I'm talking about is the third house, so please do not take offense. But there will be areas in your life, like when you communicate with people, there's something about you, the way you communicate people really like, because Pisces has a tendency to understand that we're all one, all right? And that would be that Piscean thinking in your third house. So it can be complicated because you have the house of the non-tangible, you have the house of the tangible, logical, rational thinking, with Pisces there, okay? This is where this is located for you. Well, actually for like the last 8-9 years, you've had Neptune in this placement for you. So your thinking over these years probably was tested, like how good of an independent critical thinker are you? That's what Neptune's job does, okay? Neptune is at home in Pisces, but for Capricorn Ascendant, Capricorn Risings, just understand, just wrap your mind around the idea that you might have been a little delusional, a little ideal. Now, there's nothing wrong with idealism. We need idealism in our world, okay? We need people who are dreamers. We need people who are very creative thinkers. This is a great placement for a creative thinker, which is thinking outside of the box. Just not real good with technical stuff, with scientific stuff, right? But a great writer, right? A great person to write manuscripts, movies, stories. It can be very artistic. Like it's how you express, which is the third house. It's the house of creativity, as is the fifth house. So the fact that you have this there, recognize your thinking ability. Okay, with Mercury going around, the thinking is now connected to the Piscean stuff. And just a month ago, well, actually today, literally, Mercury now sweeps into Pisces. So the thinking factor might be, bottom line is when Mercury goes into Pisces, it slows down. That's just the bottom line. So what happens is we recognize a slowness of thought. We recognize that we were able to retrieve facts and information before, maybe a little bit quicker. But for Pisces Ascendant, for Capricorn Ascendant, Capricorn Rising, there might be an assistance right now at this time, because having Neptune in your third house means you're used to having this kind of energy. But now with Mercury entering, it's almost like you might be assisted in a way at this time. But what I want you to recognize is that Mercury does get clouded. Even though she slows, the job of the Piscean thing is to take on a veil of cloudy and murkiness, right? The rose-colored glasses type things. We're not really seeing all the details, because that's what Mercury represents, the details. So a lot of times those are hidden from us. Now, when Mercury goes retro, that happens on the February 17th to March 9th. During that time, okay, within that window, we have Mars that goes out of bounds. And when Mars goes out of bounds, it becomes more impatient, right? It's becomes a little bit more irritable, is likely to be more impulsive. It will definitely leap before looking. And Mars is our drive, our passions, our desires. It's where we're willing to fight. So for you, this is going to be happening in your 12th house, because that's where your Sagittarius energy is at. Now, this begins when Mars starts to act this way. This begins on February 9th, okay? So it's not far away. It's 6 days away from today. Mars in the 12th house means there are going to be things that you may be very Martian-like, impulsive, leaping before looking, and you're not aware of it, because that's what the 12th house is. It's the house where we have behaviors, we have habits that we're not aware of, okay? So this takes a lot of self-awareness. It takes the ability to really be able to look in the mirror and to not be critical, but to be able to be very objective about one's self. You know, look at this like an experiment. I have a lot of energy in the 12th house. I have 2 signs, almost 2 full signs in my 12th house. And one of them is a fire sign and the other one is an earth sign. So I'm all too well about my impulsive nature, which it's Aries, okay? And Aries in the 12th is the same as Mars in the 12th. So it's about having this impulsive part of your personality that you're not aware of. So the point is that when Mars goes out of bounds, it becomes more extreme, meaning you're going to be more apt to be more impulsive. And this will also affect the Arian parts of your chart. So I'm saying this as a reminder to myself. As a reminder to myself, hey Greer, hey G, you've got Mars going out of bounds between the 9th and the 3rd. If Mars is acting more extreme and Mars rules Aries, you got to find out where it's taking effect in your chart. And that's in my 12th house too. So we have this in common right now. So I have to analyze the 12th house habits, right? Hidden habits, things that probably nobody knows about but me, and a lot more of things that I don't even know about myself. Okay? So this goes for you too, if you've got Mars there. Now, your Mars is a little bit different than mine because yours is just transiting through. Yours isn't permanently there. But you do vary somewhere else in your chart. Find out where. Well, I can tell you where. If you're Capricorn ascendant, you have it in your 4th house. So this means that in that 4th house placement, it's going to affect that Arian energy there, which means at home, okay, in matters of mom and family, your tribe. Your emotional world is pretty heated, because it's a house of water, but you have fire there, so it's boiling. It could reach a boiling point, I should say. You have warm waters. You don't have cold waters in the 4th house. Your waters there are definitely beyond warm. But when Mars goes out of bounds, they, like I said, could start to get heated up, and we don't want them to get to the boiling point, okay? And if they do get to the boiling point, we have to recognize that our thinking ability to be rational and logical, right? Because we have Mercury in Neptune, isn't going to be very clear thinking right now. And we're not going to be able to think as fast as we want to react. All right? Our thinking is slow. So we might find ourselves doing things, okay, taking actions without having really given thought to what we were about to do first. So this is a caution. You know, this is a caution just as much for me in areas of my life where Mars rules. Mars also rules Scorpion energy. So for you, Scorpio is going to also be in your 11th house. This is your friendships. This is your house of your groups. This is your social circles. This is the internet. This is social media. I'm saying this because anybody right now who's under the Martian, who gets, you know, between the dates of February 9th and March 3rd, don't be so reactive in your responses, your reactions maybe, on whatever platform you socialize, okay? Be careful in the way of the things that you're putting there. You don't want things that's going to come back and haunt you because you put something down without thinking it through first, okay? Now, there's a date where the Mars out of bounds and the Mercury being in the murky waters, right? And it's going backwards, trying to retrieve its information. There's a very muddy date, and then there's a date where you're going to get some clarity. Okay, so I'm going to give these dates to you, and I can give the degrees in case you have your own chart to look at. If you are new here, do not hesitate to put in your birth data. I have no problem looking at your chart for you. And for people who contribute to the channel, we give a free chart. Yep, we actually do a reading where you are given a video, and I have your private birth data here, which just means your birth numbers. Your privacy is 100% a priority. Go down below and hook yourself up. So let's get to the clarity of the dates and the degrees. Between the dates of February 17th, that's when Mercury begins her retrograde, and March 3rd, it is between those two dates where Mercury is retrograding and Mars is out of bounds, because this retrograde and murkiness overlaps with the out of bounds stuff. And what that means is we're going to have actions that we took based on information that wasn't clear, based on information that we didn't have all the information, a lot of the details were missing, or a lack of even bothering to gather information. So when you know that, you don't want to make any decisions. Okay? I wouldn't think so. So for Capricorn Ascendant, Capricorn Rising, Mercury in your third house means that there's going to be communications you have. Communications, things you write about, things you text about, right? Communications that you make that you are going to definitely want to go back over multiple times before you press the send button. Multiple times before you cross the T, before you dot the I. I would never recommend for anybody to make any business decisions or any major decisions during this time. The window is February 17th to March 3rd. There is clarity that comes once Mercury goes back and gets back into Aquarian energy. She gets back into Aquarian energy on March 9th. Or he does, and at that point, he begins to move forward again. He begins to pick up speed. It's in air. Mercury is in air. Mercury loves air. It can move at the rate that it likes. So there's a moment when we have some nice clarity. It's not a big time. It's a small window. If it were me, these are the numbers I'm giving myself. For myself, I'm telling myself, if there's a decision I have to make, or if there's something I have to sign, right, and if it has to be done in February, or if it has to be done in March, you know, like in this window, wait till March, between March 10th and March 13th. Those are the dates when the clarity will be the strongest. Of course, the energy is going to move, but then Mercury gets back into Pisces again. And it has to go through all the 30 degrees of Pisces, which is typically going to take another 20 days. So if you can wait another 20 days, then that's fine. But then Mercury goes into Aries. And well, what does that mean? Well, Mercury in Aries is actually kind of nice, because it's fire. When you add air to fire, well, they combust, right? They go up. They're moving very fast. Mercury is on fire, literally. However, it could be impulsive thinking because it's Arian energy. So it's it's Aries and Mars again because Mars rules Aries. You get what I'm saying? So I hope this helps light your way. And this is Capricorn Ascendant, Capricorn Rising. Bye.